For the past, about half my life now, I've been working on various games and systems to help make them. And the latest is this 2D animation editor, which I'm calling Whisk. You know, the game engine is dough. You're on the breadstick channel. We have a little naming scheme going on. But if I wanted to make a game, why am I off here making secondary tools? Was there some grand mastermind level reason why I couldn't just use another one? Well, to answer all that, first we're going to have to start at the beginning. When I first started making games, I'd have to go onto an application like paint.net and drag a little bounding field around the rectangle I want to draw for remembering the numbers that you can't see because the projector's too blurry, and taking it into my programming language and entering it in by hand. You can't see because the projector's blurry, but one of these numbers is actually wrong. This is a little horror game I made called Veil, and when these enemies walk, sometimes you can see little black bars by the side of them, and that's because of a mistake I made while entering in their animation information. You know, I just got one wrong. You can also see when they attack, they sort of squish and slide around, and these particles sort of reappear after disappearing, and these are all issues either with limitations in the animation system or mistakes I made because of its manual nature. But we can now remove those limitations, and I'm an idiot. We can now remove those limitations though, and we can make much more complex animations. But what do I mean by more complex animations anyway? Well, 2D animation is just a series of frames held for certain lengths of time. In older games I've made, that times had to be constant to reduce the amount of data that I have to type in, but now we can edit it per frame, allowing for more fluidity or weight to whatever action we want to show. And each of the frames has 5, in my case, important pieces of information. Firstly is the rectangle that we cut out of the texture. Change that, change how the sprite looks. Secondly is the scale it's drawn at. We can get some nice squash and stretch to emphasize whatever action's taking place. Thirdly is the rotation of the sprite. In this game, Supersonic Shooter, I am sorry, I'm not sorry, I'm actually really proud. Sonic, as he runs about, potters back and forth, and this actually had to be 3 separate drawings where I just rotated them in paint.net because the animation system couldn't handle rotation. If it could handle rotation, this could be just saved as one image, and I could have made it a lot easier. I'm not sure if that's a good thing. The fourth attribute is the image's origin, and that one's a little more tricky to explain. The origin is the point where the sprite starts to be drawn from. This is why the stalker seems to slide when it swings its sword, and why it seems to squish. With the origin being in the same place, unless the feet were drawn in exactly the same place too, they'll appear to move. And the frame had to squish, because if it grew longer, the sliding would get worse. By being able to now move the origin, my frames can be different sizes. I just alter where the frame is drawn from, and we no longer have the issue of my entities slipping all over the place. Them fuckers got cleats now. And if we take it back to Supersonic Shooter, if you'll indulge me, this Ainslet, based off hit UK chef Ainsley Harriott, this sort of sign motion had to be like hard programmed, and I had to deal with a whole bunch of bugs to do with the collision hitting the map. But if I could just move the origin of the drawing, then that wouldn't have to be programmed. That could be part of the animation itself, and you don't have to move all the data the entity contains, just the image. Again, letting me make it much easier. Not sure if that's a good thing, but hey. And the fifth attribute, the reason I made this entire system, a list of tags which can contain data. A tag has a position, a name, and some data, and this data could be text, a direction, collision, whatever I want it to be really. Then the frame can have multiple tags. I'm thinking of expanding this system in the future, so each tag could have more than one bit of data, and this would allow me to have like a direction with a value and name, and that could specify what particle to shoot, how many, in what direction, but I wanted to keep things simple at the start. And this system was inspired by this Reddit post, which has been stuck bookmarked on my computer for over a year now. The question was, in a game, how would I do this? What if I changed how the well is drawn, or I move it about? How would I make sure the characters lined up? What if I wanted multiple characters to be able to use the well? Would I have to hard code the exact position for each character at each well position? But with tags, I can just tag the position of the hand in each frame, as well as the position of the handle, and just set the sprite positions accordingly. That's how I can do things like this, like footsteps and ripples in the water. I tagged the position of the feet when they fall, and now I have pixel-perfect footsteps. Is pixel-perfect footsteps the thing to be focusing on before I've produced even a lick of gameplay? Probably not. But, you know, it's just nice to see the system I've been working on, like, working properly, fully functioning. And it can be used for other things later on down the line too, like putting hitboxes in place, or making sure held items follow you along even when you're running, or knowing what parts from like a boss character particles should be coming out of. This is a far cry from, you know, the amazing animations in the platformer I made, or the top-down shooter I made where everything just rotates so I only have to draw it once. You know, I won't be constrained by the limitation of having to copy and paste and write all this data down in the code. That's one more like choke point that has been freed up. Now the only remaining choke point is the fact that I'm not very good at pixel art. But that can be dealt with, you know, probably. I programmed this in C++ using SFML for drawing graphics and dirmgui for the graphics interface. And there were a few issues here and there, like pressing W, both being the letter W and moving the name selection up and overwriting everything in it, but it is a bug-free experience now, is what I wrote in the script. However, while getting video for other parts of this video to like edit on top of it, I discovered a plethora of other minor bugs here and there that don't make it unusable, so I'm going to say it makes it a pretty usable experience now. But now that I have this, I can get back to work on my engine, or maybe even a game at this point, we'll see. I do have a lizard brain, so, you know, make the funny numbers go up, or if you want to chat about anything that I've done here, put something in the comments section, I'll answer it. I don't have anything better to do, and it'll make the analytics good for Papa YouTube. You know, I've spent time on this, so I'd like it to do well. Yeah, I hope you join me for whatever it is I end up doing next. Goodbye for now.